back, everybody. It's your buddy Tommy D, your boy, the one and only, the nonprofit sector connector. This show is called Long Island ChangeMakers, and every week on the show, I bring to you somebody who's on the front lines making Long Island a better place to work and or live and or get involved with philanthropy. So my guest today is my friend Hossam Maksoud from Community Care RX. I'm excited to have you. You know, when I was texting you about this show, and you're like, so what is this? What is this? I said, look, I watch the incredible work you're doing in the community, the great support you have for nonprofit organizations, which is really where we became friends and how we became aligned.
Right.
And I'm like, who else better than to have you come on and tell the story of the success of your business and how you evolved into doing so much with nonprofits.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you for the great intro. Thank you for all you do for the nonprofits. Above all, congratulations on your new show.
I love it.
It's really amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're a multi-talented guy, and for those who are watching and don't know about Tom, Tom is everywhere.
Oh, thanks,
so
man.
Thank you.
I appreciate
it. Tom,
I appreciate it
for having me today.
I was saying earlier today, like I don't know the whole story, how you got involved in the pharmacy world. I don't know your backstory. I'd love to hear some of that because I think that's always telling to talk about somebody's business and what they do.
Yeah. So I came from a family that's very. Very much involved in the medical field. You know, half of it is doctors, half of it are pharmacists. And my dad is a pharmacist, so he wanted one of his kids to take over the business. So I honestly went to pharmacy school just to make him happy.
All right.
Never, not that he knows, I never really went back and took over the business, so I stayed here. Opening my own retail pharmacies. I had a couple of pharmacies in Queens, Brooklyn, Manhattan, and we did some of the nonprofit facilities from one of my retail operations here in Queens. And honestly, it wasn't really what I was, looking for, but I did it to help some of the individuals that were living in the same building. And before you know it, I really was very much drawn toward that type of practice, the long-term care practice, nonprofit, individuals with disabilities, and I ended up selling all my retail operations.
Really?
Opening a new division 15 years ago called Community Care RX, and we grew from there, and now we're very well known in the industry and in the nonprofit business, and we love it. We're very passionate about what we do, and that goes just for not just for me, but for the entire team.
Yeah. It's funny. I can't place when I first met you, but I started. It's one of those things like I think the brain is called the reticular activating system. Like if you leave here, and I say when you leave here, look and see if you see any black Cadillac Escalades on the road, right? Your brain is going to look for those Cadillac Escalades, right? If I say I'm going to give you $50 every time you see one, it's going to look for them even more. But when you think about it, though, our brain starts to see these things. So as I started to see Community Care RX and started to see you at events and things, I started to see you more and more, supporting nonprofit organizations, being, I saw you as an honoree at a handful of events, sponsoring events, and then sort of found out that you like to buy foursomes in golf outings, but you don't play golf, and you sort of needed like somebody to play golf for you. So
thank you.
You're welcome. No, you're welcome. I mean, thank you. And some of that, and we appreciate that. My business partner Ed Probst from Vanguard Benefits, we went out a few times, and that's great. And there was one time. You had given us a foursome in the event for Federation of Organizations.
Right.
And I was able to pay it forward a little bit, and we took two friends of ours who have an office not too far from here. Our friend Bert Lurch, who's I've interviewed on this program, and he has a company called eCentral Medical Management and a second company called ONET, and two of his guys came out, Tony and Adam, came out and played golf at Federation of Organizations. So you invited my team, and I got some other folks out there, so it's just kind of that circle of life and the connections. But I don't remember if you were an honoree that night at the golf outing.
And no, it wasn't that.
It wasn't. But AHRC.
AHRC. I was on one of the honorees for the Federations of Organizations. Last year as well. But I think when we met, it wasn't that particular.
It wasn't that particular event.
That event. Yeah.
So when you say let's talk about what that means, like the long-term care nonprofits. Like, what
Right.
services are you providing to these organizations?
So for people who don't know, we pretty much are closed doors, so we're not really open to walk-in clients. We just service organizations that have residential programs at home. So people are living in their own new homes that provided by the nonprofits. We get their medications and we provide the medications to them again at the site. Not just medications, but we also go beyond that in terms of clinical services. So
Right.
we follow their blood work, we follow their regimens, we follow their refill needs, and a lot of times you will see us also at that site.
Right.
So we go on site to make sure that the staff at the homes, the MIT coordinators are really well aware of the regimens of the medications. There is nothing that they need to question, or if they have questions, we can answer them. So we're like another extension of help to the organizations, and that's really what the passion is all about. So you see others just they stop at just the delivery of medications and that's it. But we feel it's much more important for us to be a true partners in the sense of providing training services to the staff. So we run a lot of webinars during the year, and many of these webinars topics are actually coming in from the facilities, and
they're suggesting our staff could use
that's
this.
very helpful for us because the more they're educated about the topic, the easier it is for us, the safer it is for the client and the resident.
What sort of topics are those providers interested in?
Yes, so one that's really recently is a topic of interest is wound care management for people with developmental disabilities, especially when they are aging in place right now. And that's something to testify to the the great work really that some of these nonprofits are doing. So now you see the resident is passing the 50s, the 60s, the 70 years old kind of individual. Then that needs are now changing from just helping them during out the day to maintaining their chronic and maintenance health conditions.
Right,
like
because now they're aging and they're elderly.
They're aging, they're elderly, and their needs are different. So that's something that shows that these type of nonprofit services are really working, and they're working well for our communities, and we want to be part of that.
I love that, and so much you say, and you said some nice things about me at the beginning. I appreciate that, and it's for me, it's about being aligned with the nonprofit community. So even if it's in our business, Vanguard Benefits, as we connect with the nonprofit sector, it's about supporting these organizations and recognizing things like the Long Island Imagine Awards and the New York City Imagine Awards. And I'm realizing as I'm talking, I remember when we first met now, we were in New York City at an event for a gala. We were out. And
Exponent.
Yes, Exponents. Yes, a client of mine, friends of client of yours. Yes, I love the team over at Exponents. That's where we first met. And it's that alignment and support to be involved with their events, to support their galas. I know, like we've said, you've been an honoree at different events. I think that's critically important. Was that always something you saw as an opportunity to get involved with these organizations?
Not really. Not really. So when the more I went deeper into that kind of business, the business of working with nonprofits, the more I honestly learned about it, the more I saw the need for the type of partners. I don't want to call us vendors because it's not really.
I don't like that word either. I think partners is great.
It's a partners. Your services, my services, others. with our, so many. You have food providers. You have cleaning. Companies.
They're businesses, right? They're businesses that buy products. They just happen to be a nonprofit.
And so when I got into it, and then really it was much different than the retail operation, because now you're working with fragile population.
Sure.
You know, you really have to apply a lot of knowledge that, you know, and materials you learned in school. Now you really have to apply it and watch for certain things that sometimes you really don't.
That in the community, it's not as...
The community is not as prevalent as,
right.
You know, when you're dealing with this, you know, type of fragile population again. So the passion came from here. Then we learned more about the struggle of some of the nonprofit organizations in terms of, you know, budgeting, in terms of finding resources, in terms of staffing. And again, when it comes to that, you know, and the partnerships and the networks that we attend, me and you,
Yeah.
you're all over the place. Again, I don't know, you know, how you do it. I'm learning from you.
Well, I don't know. Listen, I'll let you in on a little secret. I have a twin brother.
Okay.
So right now he's out networking while I'm doing the show. I don't have a twin brother. I'm just kidding.
I know you're kidding.
I always wanted it. Do you have a twin brother?
No, I don't.
I don't either.
No,
I always wanted one. I always wanted a twin brother.
I know. I don't want to have a twin. I do have brothers, but
no twins.
No twins. I want to be always the handsome one.
I think even if I had a twin, I'd be the handsomer twin of the two. I think even if we looked at a lot alike. But you know, it's funny because being involved and being out there is like one of these things I'm known for, right? People say, "Oh, Tommy, you know everybody. You're everywhere." I go out, but I'm very selective, right? And it's important to be selective. And I got to be honest, I was not always selective. I used to go sometimes on a Tuesday night. I would hit a 5 o'clock event, a 6 o'clock, and you know they were like 5 to 7, and I just roll in at 5 and then leave by 5:45, so I could hit the 6 to 8. And sometimes I'd hit 3 events in a night, like a politician. Like, you know, you just get in, photo op, and you move on out. And that wasn't always the best for me personally, for family life and things like that. But it did give me an opportunity to have a very vast network, which is incredibly important.
And like you said, you have to be selective after a while. Because you also have to see who's genuine and who's not.
100%.
So that's a learning curve. I guess we all have to go through it. For us, it helps that I have really a very good team, strong team, that we can always help each other, and we're, you know, we can attend as many events as possible. They represent us very well.
And that's important. And I'm sorry to cut you off there, but I was thinking, like, when I first came to visit at your office last year, I was saying this to you earlier today, I was shocked how many people work for you over there. It's a large operation, because you know, I thought it was going to be a small, and then we saw all the people. So you have a great staff, and we talk about team, we talk about the relationships and having the support of the team. I haven't attended one of these events yet, and the most recent event was at the United Nations.
Right.
So there's great publicity. Our friend John McGuigan over at AHRC Suffolk, when I first met him, now called the People's Ark, you know, which was rebranded by my friends over at Spirit of Huntington Arts Center.
Really?
I'm on the board of directors of Spirit of Huntington, so they were involved with the rebrand there. You know, John and I were talking maybe 2 years ago about the event you do for the DSPs, the direct service professionals. If I'm getting that right, direct service professionals?
Direct support professionals.
Direct support for professionals. So what is that event about? And tell me how that works.
This is how it started. So it started during COVID.
Okay.
And I thought I was the only one who's going to work.
You thought you were the only person at all?
Because you know, I have a wife screaming at home, "What you doing out there?" I have a kid. You're afraid to bring in, you know, COVID back home. But you know, we have to take care of our clients. So it was very surprising for me to see on the other end that direct support professionals were really there every day.
On the front lines.
On the front lines.
And these are individuals who are not paid very highly.
So at least in my case, I have a business to run. It's my business. But for their dedication to be there every day, helping individuals, risking their lives, risking
during COVID, when we were super scared, we didn't know, right?
Nobody knew.
Nobody knew.
I mean, people even you know, in the profession, you know, didn't know what we were really facing in there. So I really, you know, we had, you know, struggles with, you know, with people showing up at work, with people, you know, delivering medications, and for all of us, we came together, And for the first time, I seen this really. So it didn't really matter if you were a doctor, you were a pharmacist, you were a nurse, you were a DSP, you were whatever you were. We all tried to help in and be there. And for the DSP, considering really, how the pay scale they're at, which I'm a very advocate for a raise for all these individuals that do a tremendous job. And I said, they've been there. I need to do something for them because they helped us. Yeah. What if they weren't there?
So this was a recognition of the work that went on during COVID, right?
Yes. So
right. So this is the work they do all the time, but it became very apparent.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I didn't realize it. I didn't really see it. And when COVID hit, it just brought it to the surface. So I said, what? Somebody has to recognize their work, and somebody has to tell them thank you for all you do. And this is where it came about. And, so we started an annual celebration in November of every year. The last year we were very lucky and fortunate to have it at the United Nations.
How does that happen? How do you get hooked up there?
It's, actually, it's a friend of my wife that suggested to her to speak with one of the ambassadors at the UNs, and network.
And then it happens. And then it happens.
The networking that we're talking about. And
100%.
She said it would be nice. I said it would be a nice experience for a lot of people, for the DSPs to be there, even for a lot of New Yorkers.
Sure. I've never been to the United Nations.
So they came in, and it was a very nice event, and we had recognized over 30 DSPs, and
how do they get recognized? Is there a company, their employer that recommends?
The company nominates. We have nomination process that we go through, and we select the right candidate for this year, and we get a lot of nominees and nominations, and we do our best to honor the selected ones. And this year was one of our best years, and hopefully we'll see you next year.
Yeah, well, the thing for me too is, do you look for partners? Like, you bring in sponsors, or do you host the whole event? I'm not even familiar with how that all works out.
In the beginning, we hosted the entire event ourselves, but then it grew.
People would purchase tickets to come to the event. Is that how it works?
Not really. It's all mostly guests.
Wow.
So we then in the past couple of years, some agencies, said we want to also contribute.
Okay.
So we had LifeSpire this year.
Okay.
Was very generous with us. We had then our, partners on the other end, our bank, and and certain companies were really
that's great.
Helpful, but we still put the majority out of it.
Yeah.
And we have also a foundation, a family foundation that put a sponsorship.
Oh, that's great.
Toward it.
Yeah. I mean, that's incredibly important, and it goes to show, like, just like you said, advocating for better salaries for the individuals on the front lines in these nonprofits. They were, like you said, essential workers during the pandemic, and were out on the front lines. And it's a terrible situation that many of these individuals have to have second jobs, and because they can't make ends meet on just the
second and third jobs.
Second and third.
Not,
I know. Yeah. And how do you do that in the week? How many hours are there available in the week to work?
And that's a very good question for people, in Albany. I mean, you just come in and spend the day with the DSP.
See what they're doing.
And see what they do.
Yeah.
And then, judge for yourself what they're really worth of.
Well, it's funny. Sometimes when somebody hasn't really walked in the shoes of another individual, they really don't get what we're talking about. And I haven't, but I've been out to see these folks, and we see it through the lens of Vanguard Benefits, the employee benefits agency. Health insurance from the employer is so important for employees generally, but even more specifically as it relates to these types of organizations we're talking about, because it's such a challenge from an income perspective.
And that's again, you see it. I mean, this is your business, and you see how expensive things are for these nonprofits. And considering the budget cuts they're facing, I mean, they really don't have much leverage to pay any more than what they have for their employees.
Right, but if they were reimbursed at a higher level from the state and Fed, right, that's a different.
Absolutely,
and there's something that needs to be done, and I've thought about that for a long time.
Yeah.
I want to understand too, as you look at the marketplace and you see the nonprofit organizations, specifically in the long-term care space. I know Long Island is certainly a focus for you. You mentioned you have space in New Jersey as well. So what is the area where Community Care RX is prepared to serve clients?
So we're mainly, I mean, I would say our business is 70% in New York versus 25% New Jersey and Delaware. But we service pretty much everyone in the state. We have state contracts, so we're all the way upstate, and many of our facilities are in Long Island, but we also have others in Staten Island, Manhattan, and the 5 boroughs. Again, we welcome new partners, and we have a commitment to our existing clients that we will never, as much as we grow, we'll never really forget what got us there, and that's a hands-on service, dedicated clientele service that we are very proud.
So I want to ask you this then too. So when you onboard a new client, not to go too deep into the details, but to get an understanding of kind of an intake and you talk about training, and we talked about somebody recently that we have in common, and what that particular organization was really focused on was, well, they had a provider already. They had a pharmacy provider. However, it was the additional services, the education, the training, that sort of stuff that really stood out for them. So when you're in your due diligence, working with a prospective client, and then when they become a client, talk to me a little bit about what that looks like.
Many times you see people are afraid of change.
Sure. Yeah.
And we can understand that, especially when it comes to medications and the risk of, okay, what if we miss something? But honestly, we have mastered this transition process very well. That we do everything ahead of the switch on, kind of, if you want to call it that. So we make sure the staff is educated about our platforms, about our protocols, processes. We meet with them numerous times before the transition, and we make them very comfortable that at your own base, we are ready to switch the service on. At the end of the day, I always tell them that if you're not, at least learn what's out there. You can be in a relationship with, with a pharmacy or, in your case, an insurance company for so many years, and unless you really know what's really good for your organization, then you may be missing out.
It's important to do an analysis. Right?
Absolutely, and we do that. And for the type of services that we provide to our clients, I don't think really anybody in today's market is offering. And we also try as much as we can to cut down on their cost.
That's great.
So anything that we can absorb, we do that. We still make a profit, but we find ways for them to cut down on their out-of-pocket expenses.
Yeah, which as it relates specifically to the nonprofit sector and all the things that the nonprofit sector has going against it, at times that's critically important to, as they say in the business, sharpen your pencil to see what's best out there. And again, if it's a situation where, we have this dialogue too. I've always considered myself a salesman, but really we're consultants at this point. So it's like, we're going to analyze what you're doing. Maybe we have some better options and opportunities for you. And if they do make sense, well, then we should talk about moving forward and doing business together, right? I mean, that's all this is.
And you're 100% right. You cannot do more than that. Just
Right.
show them, what you have, what they may be needing in the future.
Sure.
And your name is out there. And
Right.
I had people, they know of us for years.
Sure.
And my card is on their desk for 2-3
Sure.
years before they make the phone call. Maybe it's time for us to use you. But
Yeah.
yeah.
How do people, so if people want, if somebody who catches the show runs a long-term care facility, right, runs a residential program at a nonprofit organization, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
They just call me directly.
Okay.
Call one of our numbers and reach out to me. And my name is Hossam Maksoud, and I'm the CEO of Community Care RX.
And the website, what's the website?
The website is ComCare, ComCareRx.com. And we'll be glad to come in and just do a half an hour, a brief presentation just to show you what we have, and then we can take it down to your clinical staff where we can really show them some advantages for using Community Care RX.
I think that's all there is to it, right? It's about, let's take an analysis of what you're doing, see if we can provide better services, better cost, and maybe more efficiency, and then your staff is better off. Then that's a win, right? That makes sense.
No, absolutely. It's I just want to assure everyone who's watching us today that you have a true partner when you meet with us, and I'm pretty sure I know you and your partner are the same way.
Well, I'm thrilled that you were here, and that's what it is. And this is what ChangeMakers is all about. This program is to highlight business people doing important work in the community, and I appreciate you being my guest today.
Thank you, Tom, for having me.
Thank you for being here, man.
It's a
Thank
pleasure.
you so much.
And thank you for your friendship.
You're welcome. Right back at you, man. That's it. That's
Thank
it.
you.
All right. Listen, this is another episode of Long Island ChangeMakers, or it has been another episode. I am your friend, Tommy DeMisa, just bringing you ChangeMakers so you can see the important work being done here on Long Island. I'll see you next week. Make it a great day, and don't forget, this is another In Focus production. Take care.